Hey guys, JB here from Alpha Wolf Consulting, coming to you today with another episode of Walking the Path of a Shaman. And in this episode I wanted to talk about my personal way of overcoming self-doubt, insecurities, those feelings of not feeling good enough. And it all stems around having conversations with God, with my ancestors, with life, and with myself. And it's very important to me, this process, because it's how I regulate my internal state of being or my internal thoughts when I am trying to do something that is difficult, or I'm doing something that I feel uncomfortable or uncertain about. So to give a bit of perspective, currently I am walking across country, and each morning that I wake up to walk, I always start like getting insecure or getting these feelings of doubt. Am I able to do it? And is something going to go wrong? And all of this, and those feelings of, not being strong enough, not being capable enough. And what I find is that to overcome these feelings, what I personally do is I talk to myself, God, my ancestors, life, the trees, whoever's listening. And I just basically talk about what is on my mind, what I'm feeling, and sort of talk through the problem of, I feel like, I'm not strong enough. I feel like I'm not good enough. I feel like I'm not capable enough. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. I don't know what the path looks like ahead. And it's really, really important for me, because this process of talking through my problems with myself and with God allows me to sort of gain perspective and sort of work through what I'm feeling, rather than letting it sort of fester and boil inside of me and sort of overtake me. And I find that when I open myself up and start talking and sort of have a conversation with God and with life and myself, I'm really able to sort of have that dialogue of working through the problem of, I don't feel strong enough. And then, I start talking to myself about, well, you've done this, you've done that. You know what I mean? So it's very, very important for me, because it allows me to, one, reassure myself, but two, God speaks through our feelings and emotions. So the more I open myself up and speak to God and say to God, I'm not feeling strong enough. I don't know the path. I don't know what lays ahead, and I'm unsure if I'm able to do this. What happens is that I start to feel better. I start to feel more confident. I start to feel like, yes, I can do this. And it's just this process of having those honest conversations with God, with ourselves, and just talking through, what we're going through. Because it allows me personally to get perspective on any situation or any challenge that I may be facing, and sort of to be able to see it from different perspectives. And it's very, very important. What I've found is that when I talk to God, it's not like coming from a place of wearing that mask of the ego of I'm so great, I'm this, I'm that. I find that it's better when I humble myself to really saying, I'm scared. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And then sort of building myself up through the conversations that I have, or the conversation that I'm having, in terms of then running through, well, I've done this in my life, you know, and running through my accomplishments. And it's not sort of like I'm running through my accomplishments for an ego boost, but it's sort of getting that perspective of, well, you've been in this situation before, you know, and you got through it, and sort of like, working through and building myself up by just looking at all the challenges I have overcome in the past, because that's where sort of like our strength lies, in that perspective sort of realignment, where we're able to see, well, you've done this in the past, you've achieved this, you've, you know, gone through this situation. And like, to give you a bit of perspective, yesterday when I was walking, yesterday morning, I was starting to feel the stress of, you know, am I going to get hit by a car walking on the highway? And, you know, is the cart that I'm pulling going to break? You know, are the tires going to pop? You know, are all these negative things going to happen? And it's sort of like, by being able to, one, identify what my fears are, and then sort of, you know, slowly talk through them with myself and with God. You know, God is me and God is you. So when we talk to ourselves, we are talking to God. But I also, when I talk to God, I say, God, I don't know the path ahead of me. I don't know if these negative things are going to happen. I don't know if, you know, this self-doubt is true, that, you know, I'm going to get a puncture, that, you know, my cart's going to break, that I'm going to get hit by a car, that, you know, I'm going to run out of water, and all these different things. You know, I mightn't be able to walk the distance that I'm trying to walk today, and all these different things. And as I talk through them, I'm able to sort of, you know, work through my fears, and sort of say, well, if you just keep walking, you know, at 5 kilometers an hour, it will only take you 6 hours to go 30 kilometers. If you drink 2 liters of water every 2 hours, then you'll only go through 6 liters of water. You know, if the car breaks, well, then you're able to repair it. And it's sort of like this understanding that in everything that we do in life, or every sort of challenge that we face or uncertain time, we already know how we would deal with it when it comes up. So for example, one of the bolts in my cart yesterday snapped, and then the handle, you know, snapped off. So, you know, as soon as that happened, well, it was quite easy. I just zip tied the handle back on and it was all fixed. But before that happened, the fear was, well, what do I do? You know, how do I fix it? And it's sort of like this funny thing that in life, when we're going through challenge or when we're going through uncertainty, our fears and doubts are always going to be made worse than what the reality actually is. You know, like while I'm walking along the highway, I fear judgment from drivers because I'm inconveniencing them. Do you know what I mean? But like, for example, when I'm a driver and there's someone walking on the road or riding on the road, like, it's no stress. I just slow down and go around them. Like it's a 10-15 second interaction. Do you sort of understand what I mean? But within myself, even though I know that, it's still those fears and those sort of negative thoughts and self-doubt and that fear of judgment that overcome us and overcomes me. And that's a really important aspect of talking to God, is that allows us to overcome that fear of judgment and that fear of the unknown or the uncertain. And it's very important for me because it allows me to realign my perspective in being able to shift from that feeling of being judged to, well, this is how I would treat that person in that situation. Like, I wouldn't be angry if there's a cyclist on the road, you know what I mean? It's not an inconvenience to me. Yeah, if I get stuck behind a cyclist and there's no way to go around them, yeah, it inconveniences me for 30 seconds or maybe a minute, but it's sort of like it's not the end of the world. Yet within my mind, that aspect of overthinking sort of makes the problem bigger. So what I've found is that just through talking to God and myself, I'm able to talk through those fears and sort of get rid of them. But the other aspect is I'm able to release the uncertain to God. So I'm able to say, God, I don't know if I'm strong enough to do this, but I trust you. Like, I have faith. So if you tell me that I can get through this, then I'm able to let go to that fear and just keep moving forward. Because in life, that's the most important thing. When we feel self-doubt, when we feel insecure, when we feel those feelings of fear, the most important thing to do is not to stop, but it's to keep going and to deal with it and to work through it. Because whenever I'm faced with challenges, my mind wants to instantly go to, you know, sort of like spazzing out and sort of like creating the worst case scenario, you know what I mean? Where, you know, it's life threatening or it's ending me, or, you know, the worst is going to happen. And by and by me being able to reset myself in the moment and keep moving forward, after, you know, 5-10 minutes of continuing on, those fears start to subside. And it's very, very important, because in anything that you or I do in this life, whenever we feel fear, we just got to keep sticking it out until that feeling of insecurity or fear goes away. Otherwise, that fear becomes our limitation. So if I give up every time I feel fear, the second I feel fear, that's my limitation. I can never overcome fear, because as soon as I feel it, I give up, if that sort of makes sense. So I find personally talking to God and telling God my problems and asking God for strength, courage, the ability to get through, for protection, and all of this just allows me to put my mind at ease and just believe that everything is going to be all right. And the way that I believe everything is going to be all right is when I'm talking to God. When I tell God, you know, I don't know if I'm strong enough to do this, but give me strength and I will continue. When I feel happy and good and confident, that is God telling me that it is the right path. When I feel that nervousness after talking to God, and that uncertainty, or that, you know, that fear that, oh, this might happen. So for example, before my cart broke, I was, you know, thinking, oh, you know, this cart's probably going to break, this cart's probably going to break. And I had this feeling that the cart was going to break, and then it broke. So we just got to understand our intuition, that gut feeling, is God telling us what is about to happen? Is life telling us what is about to happen? And it's very, very important, because when we can sort of trust our feelings, then we're able to, one, prepare for what happens, in terms of, you know, I had a feeling that the cart was going to break, so I was already sort of preparing what I would do if something happened. Do you know what I mean? So I'm able to work through based off my feelings and plan for what is going to happen. Have you ever noticed that in your life, that you start to get a bad feeling before something goes wrong? That's God warning you or telling you, like, hey, this is about to happen, but you're going to get through it. And it's very important for me personally, because since I've been working on really becoming quiet within my mind and really trusting my intuition and my feelings and all of that, what's happened is that dealing with situations, I'm able to give the fear to God that I'm feeling, and then I'm able to problem solve without the fear, without the anxiety, where I'm able to look at the problem and sort of overcome that problem in terms of from a clear or a calm state of mind. Because the more anxiety and anxious I am and the more stress I have, the more reactionary I become. So by being able to give away the fear to God, I'm able to address and face every problem in a very calm manner, in a calm situation or a calm state of mind or being. And that's really important, because that allows me to not just react to the problem and to, deal with it in the best situation. Because the calmer we are in problems or challenges, the clearer we think and the more accurate our thoughts become. Because as my stress levels or my anxiety rises, I start just looking at problems. Problem. When I'm calm, I'm looking at solutions. I'm seeing solutions to the problem. And that's really important, because it's this way of approaching our problems and not feeling like when I go through hard times, when I go through challenges, when I'm going through, uncertainty, I'm never alone. God is with me. Life is with me. My ancestors are with me. So I'm able to sort of feel supported throughout the process of going through the uncertainty. Whereas if I feel like it's just me and I'm all alone, then it sort of creates a bit more fear, in terms of then I'm sort of thinking, oh, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? How am I going to do this? So, in your own life, it's really important, if you feel like you're overthinking or you're feeling self-doubt or fear or uncertainty, all you need to do is just start vocalizing yourself and just talking to yourself and God, and sort of ask for whatever you need. In terms of, it's not like, hey, can I get $100, God? No, we're asking God for, can I get strength? Like, I need strength. I need wisdom. I need, courage. I need fortitude. Like ask for the internal things that you need, because God doesn't give us sort of like material gains, but He gives us the internal. So He affects the internal states of being within us that allow us to get the material gains. So for example, in business, if you're struggling in business, like, ask God, how do I see opportunity? Like, show me the opportunity. I trust you and I have faith. Show me the opportunity and I will take the actions towards it. You know what I mean? Rather than saying, God, give me the outcome. It's sort of like, show me the path and I will walk it in faith. And that's really important, because it's sort of that process of walking the path in faith that builds our confidence in the uncertain times, that builds our strength, that builds our courage, and that allows us then to deal with future problems in a much calmer way. So we just got to understand that we're not trying to find shortcuts when we talk to God, but we're just trying to find the path that feels right, or the actions and decisions that feel right, so that we can take them in faith that everything will work out for the best. And it's very important, because this allows us then to build that self-confidence in dealing with the unknown, dealing with, uncertainty, or dealing with fear in a much calmer manner that allows us to have more grace. You know what I mean? Like, for example, if when my cart broke, I was freaking out and all of that, like, who would want to stop if you're highly agitated and angry and reacting to the situation and, oh, woe is me, why did this happen? Does it sort of make sense? Whereas if we're just calm and we're dealing with the problem and overcoming the problem, well, more people are going to want to help because we're not, emotionally unstable. And another way to think about this is like, when people do things that we don't like in life, or they do things that make us, unhappy, or that frustrate us, or that, trigger us, well, the calmer we are, the better we respond to that situation. Whereas if I just react to someone frustrating me, or, someone saying something that angers me, and I just react to it with anger or frustration, all I'm going to do is make a dickhead out of myself, and make myself look stupid because I'm sort of just reacting and blowing up, and I'm only going to exacerbate the situation. Whereas if I react calmly and stay calm, I'm able to see, yes, this person said something that frustrated me, this person, angered me, but how do I want to move through that situation? What is the best way or the best outcome that I can get from this situation? Do you know what I mean? So if someone says something that frustrates or angers you, or they do something that does that, talk to God and just say, God, this frustrates me, this angers me. What do I do? What is the path to move forward? Like, how do I get the best outcome, moving forward? Like what is the best actions for me to take? And then just listen within yourself and within your mind, and feel your emotions, and you'll get the answers that you need in terms of, maybe it's when you talk to God, you'll start to calm down and feel calmer and more relaxed, and you'll start to see it from a wider perspective, rather than being hyper focused on the action or, what they've said. You sort of see it in the overall context of, well, maybe this person was intentionally trying to say something that frustrates or angers me. Or maybe they weren't even thinking or considering how what they said or did would affect me. Do you sort of understand? So it's just this way of, whenever we're in a situation that we don't want to be in, all we have to do is just start talking to ourselves and God, and just working through that problem as if, God is there with me. And what I find when I talk to God is that I'm having the whole conversation, but God is directing my thoughts in terms of what is the answer. So for example, when I'm telling God I don't feel like I have enough strength, then God is directing me to, well, you've done this, you've done that. Like, these are the things that you've already overcome. Do you sort of understand? So where our focus goes in terms of our thoughts and our emotions and our feelings is God directing us to the solution to the current problem that we are facing. And it's very important, because this is the way that we're able to then move through life feeling, that sense of faith that everything's going to be all right, even if the world is burning around me. So it allows us to move through calmly any situation, no matter, what's happening, because one, we're not alone, but two, we're able to, by ourselves, work through the problem and find the best solution without giving into that reaction of, I have to do this now, I got to do that, and just seeing the problem and trying to deal with the problem, where we're looking for solutions and we're talking through the solutions and potential solutions and sort of working through everything. And then when we want to not so much react, but then when we want to deal with the situation, we're dealing with it from a more coherent place within ourselves. Alright, well I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks so much. Bye.